If the words meal prep make you want to hide under a blanket with a bag of chips, you're not alone. See, most of us want to have healthy, home-cooked meals without spending all Sunday in the kitchen or without eating the same copycat meal every day for a week. The good thing is that meal prep doesn't have to mean marathon cooking sessions or rows of identical Tupperware. It can be flexible, fast, and even a little bit fun. Today we're going to talk about 5 practical tips for those of you that want to meal prep but hate meal prep. They're gonna help you make whole food plant-based meals all week long without the dreaded all-day prep. These tips are gonna help you save time, reduce stress, and actually feel doable, even if you hate meal prep like I do. One of the best shortcuts for people who dislike meal prep is simply planning your meals in advance. Pre-planning is gonna take away that what am I gonna eat tonight stress that leads so many of us to something like Uber Eats or going to the takeout down the street or any other number of unhealthy, crappy options. And bonus, it helps save you money because you're only gonna end up buying the amount of food that you actually are going to eat that week. To make meal planning easy and actually kind of fun, what I've been doing recently is using this app called Resimi, which I will put a link to in the description down below and a QR code on the screen. So full disclosure, Resimi did reach out to me to check out their app, and I'm gonna be honest, I'm usually skeptical about stuff like this, but I was really shocked by how easy this thing was to use right out of the gate. As soon as you set up your account and ask you a bunch of questions like, are you looking to save money? Are you looking to save time? So it can help you with that as well. But what I really loved was whether I wanted to grab a recipe from social media, from my own website, pbwithj.ca, or I just wanted to scan a recipe from a cookbook. Okay, use photo, let's see what it does. Thinking. All right, import. All right, let's verify the recipe. It does it within seconds. It puts all of the ingredients right inside the app. It creates the meal for you. You can categorize it into different little areas for yourself. And then what you can do is you can then make a meal plan for the week. And you can tell it to take that particular item and put it into your grocery list. And if you've got some things that you already know you have in the house, like spices or grains or anything like that, you can just click it off so you're not buying stuff you don't need. Now granted, this is the kind of thing that takes a little bit of time to set up when you're adding each new recipe, but let's be honest, a lot of us have the same 5 to 20 meals in some kind of a regular rotation. So once you've got the majority of those in there, it is such an amazing time saver. And like I said, adding new recipes takes literally seconds to do. Honestly, I wasn't gonna use this app when they first told me about it, and now I don't know how I would do it without it, because the old way I did it definitely took me like 10 times the amount of time. So give it a shot for the free trial, if nothing else, and then go from there. And like I said, you got a link in the description down below, and you can use the QR code on the screen. So thank you, Resimi, for firing this over and sponsoring this video. Okay, so we've got a meal plan for the week. What's next? If you do have a little bit of time, prepping a few key ingredients like vegetables, grains, or beans in advance gives you some mix and match flexibility that is going to take you through the entire week. You could roast or steam some vegetables. You could cook your own or get some cans of chickpeas and portion those out along with, tofu, lentils. And then assembling meals quickly later on becomes like a no-brainer breeze. Stir fries, wraps, grain bowls, soup. By just prepping the staples in advance, you can then flavor them in any way you want, which we'll talk about a little bit later on, at a moment's notice to kind of hit any craving that you're feeling that day. In short, a little bit of prep equals a lot of healthy meals. In fact, this is how a lot of the recipes in our book were created, and we're gonna talk more about this later on in the video, and I'll tell you how you can get a hard copy now as well. So this next hack is something I like to call cook once, eat twice, or thrice, or a lot of times depending on how far you take this idea. So when you do fire up the stove or the Instant Pot or whatever it is you're cooking with, make it count. A lot of people just call this batch cooking. I like to call it cook more now so you can cook less later. When you're prepping a meal, it doesn't actually take you that much time to double the recipe, especially if you're just cutting vegetables. You're already in vegetable cutting mode. Cutting an extra pepper or an extra onion does not take that much extra time. Think of it like while you're at it meal prep. So if you're making quinoa for a meal, double it and put some in the fridge for later on in the week. And if you're not going to use it later in the week, freeze it for next week or the week after. Most of those kind of things freeze for 3 to 6 months. If you're baking potatoes, bake a couple extra. Those things will store in the fridge for at least a week. Roasting veggies or baking or air frying some tofu, do 2 blocks instead of 1. And those are the kind of things you can throw into a wrap like that. Are you making like a chili or a soup or a stew or pasta? Anything like that can be portioned out and put into a freezer container for next week or next month. Having a freezer can honestly be the biggest thing that can help you if you hate meal prep, because it's the kind of thing that just allows you to give gifts to your future self by making meals that you can then enjoy a week, 2 weeks down the line. Soups, curries, chilies, vegetable lasagnas, all these things portion out really well and freeze and reheat beautifully. So when you are planning your next week worth of meals, just ask yourself, can I make extra? It is the ultimate meal prep hack for those people who hate meal prep. And our next hack is just simply embrace shortcuts and no cook solutions. So for those of you that just legitimately hate to cut up vegetables or generally have no time, give yourself permission to use a few shortcuts. There is no badge of honor you get from doing every single thing from scratch. And if using a few healthy, convenient items makes a difference in your life, that's a win. Store-bought is not a sin. So if you want to use pre-cut vegetables, pre-mixed salad greens, frozen vegetables, canned beans instead of cooking your own, that's great. Doing those kind of things can save you tons of time while still having a very nutritious option. The main thing to just remember is whatever it is that helps you put the healthiest food in your body on a regular basis, do that. Let your kitchen gadgets and simple recipes do the heavy lifting for you. If you have got an Instant Pot or a slow cooker, use that to create meals that you can just dump in and enjoy when you get home that night. You know, soups, curries, pasta dishes, there's so many options. And let me know in the comments down below if you want a video about recipes like that, and maybe I'll do one this fall. And don't overlook no-cook meals either. Some of the healthiest meals you can have are the quickest. I'm talking about things like salads that are loaded with, seeds, nuts, legumes, quick and healthy sauce, stuffed whole grain wraps, sandwiches with hummus and greens. So one of the things you should be doing as you are cooking and eating this way is just build up an arsenal of these really quick go-to meals that you know you can make on the fly, and even if you need to take with you. For example, my family is going to go on a picnic later on this week, so we are going to make the eggless salad sandwich that you can make in literally 10 minutes. It's also in the cookbook. Again, we're going to talk about this in a little bit. But that is one of those quick go-tos that I can use any day of the week or any night of the week if we just need something quick, and it's with ingredients that we generally already have on hand. Another great thing that we like to do when we're on the go is just creating some kind of like a mezzi platter to go. So that can just be like a whole grain pita. It can be, vegetables, baby carrots, snap peas, a hummus, olives, chopped up vegetables. Just create something easy and delicious. It doesn't all have to be cooked every single time. In fact, the more raw your vegetables, generally speaking, the healthier most of them are. And don't feel bad about using some packaged helpers if they just help you with your diet in a pinch. Jarred tomato sauces, jarred salsas, curries. The trick is just really look at the ingredients and make sure that ideally they don't have any oil in them. And if they do, it's really low on the ingredient list. Ideally not in the top 5. We all know that the ingredient list is done by the amount that's in there, right? So it's like weight and volume. So if oil is at the top, That's your main ingredient. The real trick is just to get good with really, really simple sauces, whether ones that you can buy or ones that you make yourself. In our cookbook, again, we're gonna talk about it in a second, I've got like a pesto sauce that you can make for pasta faster than it takes the pasta to actually cook. I've also got a really great roundup of some of our favorite sauces that we've used from recipe books that we have reviewed, and I'll put a link in the description down below in case you want to check that out, just in case you haven't already. And when you make those sauces, those in particular are things that often freeze really, really well. So make like a double, triple batch and portion it out into containers that you can put inside your freezer. Just remember, you're not being graded on how from scratch your meals are. So if using, pre-cut vegetables, canned legumes and beans helps you out, nobody is going to judge you. And if they do, that person sucks and you should just ignore them. The goal is to get nourishing plant-based meals into your body as easy as possible. Work harder, not smarter. Nope, it's the opposite. Work smarter, not harder. And last but not least, the final tip. Keep it simple and make it enjoyable. If you are a super busy person and you already hate the idea of meal prep, simplicity is the key. You don't need a Pinterest-worthy recipe in your house every single night, or every single week, or ever, if that's not your vibe. Instead, just stick with a rotation of tried and tested meals that you and your family enjoy that you can make within the amount of time that you have. Maybe it's a weekly taco night, or a pasta night, or a sheet pan meal, or homemade pizza, or a baked potato with like a chili or just beans on it. Whatever your go-to favorites are, lean into them. Honestly, even people that consider themselves foodies probably have 5 to 10 meals that they repeat on a steady rotation. This isn't about becoming the next Gordon Ramsay. This is about getting meals on the table without being stressed out. That said, no one wants to eat boring and bland meals, obviously, right? The trick is to keep it simple while adding flavor and just amping up small details to make it interesting and unique. For example, if you do tacos every week, which we generally do, maybe instead of having the traditional Mexican flair, put a little Korean vibe to it by changing up the spices or the sauces or the vegetables. If you make a big batch of vegetables in quinoa, spice it and season it differently every single time you make it. One time, use Italian herbs and marinara. Another time, use curry powder and coconut milk. If you're not one of those people that avoids coconut milk like the plague, that is, obviously. But there's lots of other options. I'm sure you get it. The trick is to make your meals fresh, even if you're using a lot of the same vegetables or grains or beans and whatnot. And so I know you're asking, and this is where we're gonna get into it. I'm gonna talk about the book a little bit more. Because one of the things that I wanted to do when I created this book was not just give you a bunch of family tested recipes, which they are. There's also a whole section at the front called Flavors of the World. And it's broken down into about a dozen different cuisines, everything from Italian to Thai to Moroccan, Mexican, Greek, Turkish, Indian, French, Japanese, Chinese, American, Canadian. And what I've done here is I've given you a list of not only ingredients for the different kind of like vegetables and fruits, grains, beans, legumes that are typical of that cuisine. But I've also got a second section on the right-hand side that is just seasonings. So that is spices and flavors. So if you want to try to make up your own blends, you can use something like this as a guide to create your own meals based on what you're craving. And so yes, like I said earlier, you can get an ebook. The link is in the QR code that is already on the screen, but we do have hard copies that we have available again. So you can email me right here and I will send you the information. Just let me know that you're interested in a hard copy and we'll get that over to you. Most of the recipes in this book can be made in 30 minutes or less. And if you've got picky kids, we also have, it's broken down by our different flavor types and what we like. But also there's a little guide at the bottom of every single page that lets you know who in our family, I should say, enjoys the meals, right? So if you know you like things like Annie, because maybe you're a little picky, or you're a super taster like she is, then you know that meal might just be for you. And if you really do want to kind of keep yourself out of having like a whole recipe rut, Try one new recipe a week amongst all of the staples that you normally have, just to try to expand yours or your family's flavoring palettes. Another way to make meal prep less miserable is just to try to make the process more enjoyable. If you know you have to buckle down for half an hour or an hour to cut vegetables or make a sauce or whatever it is, partner it with something that you enjoy. Put some music on. Dance a little in the kitchen. Put on a podcast that you've been meaning to listen to. Catch up on new videos of PB with J that you might be behind on. Brew your favorite tea or adult beverage. Enjoy the time knowing that you're taking care of your future self. And what you can actually turn this into is a little bit of me time. This may sound a little silly or woo-woo, but if you just reframe how you think about this time, not as like a chore or a punishment, but as a way for you to do some self-care, that might just make all the difference for you. And like I've been saying, do not strive for perfection. Honestly, even if you do a little bit, like cutting an extra pepper up or just making a little bit of extra brown rice, any little thing that you do is going to help you later on. You don't need color-coded containers or Instagram-worthy prep bowls. You just need food ready when you're hungry. That's it. So celebrate any step that makes your life easier and ignore the rest. Keep things simple, give yourself grace, and you're more likely to not only start these new habits, but continue and build upon them as you go. Just start small. Start with one thing this week that you can do in prep, and then add another thing next week, and so on and so forth. And it just becomes this like accumulating interest of good habits that you do in the kitchen that, you know, a year from now, old you would be like, who the heck have I become? The key is really just making it for you. It's for you to save time, save money, make yourself happier, healthier, and hopefully a little more stress-free. Let us know in the comments down below what some of your meal prep tips and hacks are that I haven't mentioned here, or ones that I have mentioned that you enjoy. And if you want to give us a little extra shout out and say hello to us, maybe I'll give you a shout out back, like I'm about to do right now with some of the lovely people who said hello to us in the comments down below. Irene from Querétaro, Mexico. Kathy from Valley Springs, California. Eileen from Wisconsin. Clarissa from Wollongong, Australia. Joyce from the Netherlands. Judith from Phoenix, Arizona, otherwise known as Hell during July and August. I'm sorry to hear that. It's been pretty hot here in Toronto too. Ginger in North Carolina. Lisa from Maui. Nepigow from Arlington, Virginia. And Meg from Rosalie Park, New Jersey. And if you want to shout out, just say hi to us in the comments down below. Let us know who you are, where you're watching from, and let us know something about your meal prep experience, good or bad. And if you want to bump up on that list, you can consider joining us over in our Mighty Network membership for that perk, along with many, many others, the most of which is just being part of a like-minded community of people that you can check in with and chat to, ask questions, get advice, offer advice, however you want to use the platform. And you can join us over there for the price of a crappy cup of coffee a month. And if you want to save a little bit of time with your meal planning, try out that Recipe app. Because honestly, that thing has been a game changer for me, and I think it will be for you as well. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button to let YouTube know to share this with other people. Obviously, subscribe for more videos like this. And since you are still hanging around, maybe you want to watch this video next, because YouTube has picked it specifically for you, your needs, your enjoyments, because they wanted to save you some time. Very thoughtful of them.